Welcome to Discussions in the Afterlife. I'm Colleen.
I'm Jim, and today we're going to talk about modes of transportation in the afterlife. It's a thing.
It is a thing.
Yes.
And this subject just evolved after we heard the random comment, the king has a ferry. In the following study, we began asking questions, of course, about the king, and we were warned to stop.
Yeah. Why would a king need a ferry anyhow? Doesn't the king just own everything?
Right, and why is it such a hush-hush
Yeah, I don't know.
situation?
But we did stop asking about the king and his ferry boat.
Yeah, maybe he stole it.
Maybe. The vast majority of these quotes that we're going to tell you today, they come from our invisible relatives and are not provoked by us. Almost everything we know about transportation in the afterlife comes from their just random comments that we capture on the recorders. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So today we're going to begin with boats in Panama, because that's the first place we heard it.
Yes. Besides the king has a ferry, we recorded a guy saying for no reason, he tells his neighbors, somebody must have sink our boats.
Really bad English.
Bad English, but he gets his point across. And a woman defiantly snaps back at him, we don't need them.
Right, maybe she gets seasick.
Maybe.
So years ago, about 4 years ago, I guess now, my daughter was doing a study and asked the question about her deceased grandfather, how he's doing. And a man near the powder room said his boat returned. And then a different time, I asked about boats, and we heard a man tell someone, I can drive the other ship.
It's kind of a weird phrase, driving a ship, but at the end of the day,
I guess that's what they're doing. I don't know. And then recently, a man near the powder room tells his neighbor, come for you, Dad, a boat went through.
A boat went through. If you remember back, we were in Ireland together. Our other sister was with us and her future husband. And we were sitting in a bar in Wicklow, south of Dublin. And the bartender, and we were like in this archway on a couch drinking. And the bartender was telling us that we were sitting in what's called a sally port. A part of the wall of the city, of the original city of Wicklow, a Viking city. A sally port was a way to get their ships in to the city at low tide. And here we were sitting, and I remember seeing at the top of the archway, right above me, the scraping marks that the ship must have scraped themselves through trying to get in there at low tide. Right. So, I mean, that might be something similar to what this person is saying. A boat went through.
Right. Yeah. What else would a boat go through?
I don't know. But it went through the wall. Down in Panama, we recorded a woman at the steps telling her neighbor, we have chosen to be his boating companions.
Well, it's nice she has a choice.
Right. But who is he?
That's a good question.
At another instance, I asked directly about boats in the afterlife. And a woman downstairs says, yes, Jimmy, there's boats.
Well, that's good confirmation.
Plain and simple. And I asked at another point, why do some people prefer boats in the afterlife? And a man in the bedroom replies, they are things that can come, Jim.
Wow.
That can come and go.
Yeah, they do come and go for sure. And boats are a big part of it. And
mind you, this house is on top of a mountain, about 5,000 feet above sea level. So
really far.
There's no water. I don't know. I don't get it.
So I guess at some point they have to get off the boat and walk.
I can imagine.
And so then in 2 years ago now, I asked the invisible people in my house how they feel about being here in my house. And a man on the landing said, we love it here. And the other man on the step said, we love it here, Colleen. And there's this lady near the stove that said, we have to walk and talk. So here we go.
Is that tricky? Maybe.
Maybe for some people. And then at the beginning of another study, I said hello and asked how they were all doing. And in the kitchen, a man says, they're walking, Colleen.
He's observing them walking.
So maybe they're walking past the window like they're late for the study.
Oh, perhaps. Right.
And then this was said to someone, perhaps, from this man on the landing, says to someone, don't walk to town. So
it's like a warning.
It's a shady town. So during another study, a man at the glass door in the kitchen tells his neighbor, we walked here. So perhaps his neighbor didn't walk here, but
everybody else drove their boats or cars or something here.
right.
But that fellow walked.
Maybe he's looking for a ride home.
Maybe he's a neighbor.
Oh.
Ooh, I didn't think of that. In Panama, there's a conversation that goes for a while about this. At the end of a study, I begin to collect recorders as the invisible people begin to leave. You can hear them leaving. They're saying goodbye to each other and like explaining where each person's going to go. Yeah, we're going back to Fred's house, blah, 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 that kind of thing. We record a woman in the spare room notes, that's a big walking family, to her neighbor. Well, maybe I get asking about who's that big walking family. I'm not sure, but the next study that I do in that house, the name Goodall was mentioned, and we don't have a relative by the name of Goodall that I know of.
Right.
Right.
Well, not that we're aware of.
Not that no, I don't think so. So then after hearing that name, I ask about them during the next study, and a woman in the spare room, no good friends, but your partners. So the Goodall family is not great friends of ours, but they're our partners, business partners, I guess.
Perhaps.
A woman downstairs answering that same question. Jim, they walked over here. And the way she said it sounds like that family's walking was very strenuous.
Right. They're making a great effort.
Right. To come to my study.
4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah, 4 minutes long. We don't understand that just yet, ladies and gentlemen. At another point, the following study, of course, when you hear answers like that, we follow up on the next study. I mentioned the Goodalls walking, and a man in the spare room. The Goodalls walked here every single time, the guy says.
So they're pretty dedicated to
very dedicated.
Getting to a study.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah, and we heard in Panama during a study, a man ask for someone to throw him his keys. And I asked what people drive when they leave the study. And at the fridge, a man says, what we drive there.
Which is a smartass. What do you drive when you leave a study? And a guy replies, what we drive there.
Yeah, so whatever I drive there, I drive home.
Sure, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, to him maybe.
Sure.
And then this man on the step says, cars stolen all the time.
Ooh.
So maybe it's not a good place to park your car.
Rough neighborhood.
And then there's this man by the powder room that says to his neighbor, can I have the car? I need the car.
Yeah, so they went from boats to walking, and now they're in cars. In Panama, just a couple of years ago, we record downstairs a man telling someone, don't carry anything, just get in the cars, plural. So it doesn't matter what car he was getting into, just get into one of them.
Maybe he's stealing the car.
Or maybe. Or maybe all the cars like parked in my front, all the invisible cars parked in my front yard, they all going to the same place anyhow.
Right, that's true.
It could be.
So last spring, I asked why they changed from boats to cars. And a man near the fridge said, I'll go sit in the car. And a woman on the step said, different thing to drive.
So there you have it. You're driving in the afterlife. You're going to drive something. You're going to drive a boat. You're going to drive a car. We've even heard about train rides in the afterlife at one point. Yeah, but walking is still a thing, not the preferred.
Right. And the same here.
Yeah.
It seems like the same as we are today. I could
Exactly.
walk to wherever, but a lot of times I just jump in the car.
Yeah, it's just so much quicker, easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you have it, my friends. Subscribe, please. We need the help. Share, like this, thumbs up, baby. Appreciate it. And we'll see you soon.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Thank you.